You are listening to the Down to the Wire podcast. I'm Brian Costa. No Carter, no Tyler tonight, but I am glad enough to greet two very prominent friends who I kind of get to know. My personal friend Adam Wright and his podcast colleague Justin Tucker. Boys, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing well. We're doing well. By yourself?
I'm doing good. I mean, this was very impromptu. I'm sorry that I kind of called you guys out of the blue. Really wanted to kind of get this sort of a thing in, but I'm glad that we were able to. I did want to talk about some things going on in the sports world, and I'm glad I was able to have two guys to bring on to the show tonight. I know you guys are primarily football based, but if you guys want to just give a little background of yourselves, Adam, I think you've already been on the show before, but if Justin, you want to kind of give a little introduction, feel free, man.
Oh man, put me on
Sorry.
It's all good. For those who don't know me, my name is Justin Tucker. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I go to Dean College with my boy here, Adam Wright. If I was to give you an impression, I am the Anakin Skywalker to this man's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He's off the rails.
But he gives me guidance, so I stay on the rails for the most part.
Yeah, until he falls off and becomes Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. I mean, if you guys haven't heard these guys' podcast yet, is the Fumblerooski Podcast. You guys can listen to these guys now on Spotify and Instagram, as well as YouTube and many other platforms. I think you guys added Google Play to your repertoire. Again, really good to have you guys on the show tonight. But we start off tonight in kind of somber news. If you didn't see it, golf legend Tiger Woods was involved in a very serious car accident. He flipped his car. Had a very bad leg injury. Apparently it was like shattered in multiple places, had to get a surgery to basically get that kind of thing reconstructed. Obviously, that was very unfortunate. Prayers up to Tiger. We hate to see it happen to a guy like that. I mean, I think he's like one win away from a PGA record. So obviously prayers up to that guy. What were you guys' thoughts when you heard about that story going down?
I mean, the guy's an absolute legend. And just put golf aside. Golf is really secondary at this point. But this guy, it's really horrible to see something like this happen to anybody. It doesn't matter if it's Tiger Woods or anybody like that. Like for anybody, he's going to have he's undergoing these major leg surgeries. He may never play golf again. But again, that's secondary. I'm glad he's going to be okay. We'll see if he makes a full recovery.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy is just a cultural legend. I mean, in terms of the sport and just life. I mean, he is just like epitomized being an athlete in this day and age. I mean, you think golf, Tiger Woods is synonymous with it at this point. It's incredible to see. I'm hoping that he can really come back from this. I mean, he's come back from terrible back surgeries. He's been through a lot. If he could make it back through this would be, probably the greatest comeback story that he's been able to come back from yet. I mean, he's come back from a lot, so that's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, yeah. So obviously, all the prayers up to Tiger. We hope that he can get through it. But now we transition into your guys' kind of repertoire, football. This is where your guys' podcast is based around. Before we get into NFL news, there was something going on in the NCAA that I feel like we just kind of had to talk about. So if any of you guys didn't see it, Oklahoma wide receiver Spencer Jones was basically in a bar somewhere near his school, and he ended up picking a fight with some little guy in a bathroom. And let's just say the little guy kicked his ass. I mean, it was a brutal kind of beating from that guy. Did you guys see that video? I mean, because I saw it and I was just like, that guy just was so scrappy. He just beat the hell out of him.
I couldn't stop laughing.
Dude,
I was like, "Ooh."
I mean, dude, there was the commentary behind it too. Was actually there was like some crazy commentary behind it too. They were like commentating on like the moves the guy was making. They were like, oh, he's going for the guillotine. He's going for the rear naked choke. He's going for it all. And it's obviously a very serious situation. And if you look in the video clip, the guy who Spencer Jones was picking on, he like wipes his nose and then just goes right for a punch. It was some of the craziest stuff I've seen. I mean, apparently his lawyer said that he almost lost his eye. He had to undergo a 4-hour surgery to rebuild his left orbital socket. So, I mean, really kind of serious stuff. But at the same time, dude, you're a pro wide receiver. Why are you picking fights in a bar, dude? It was just stupid in my opinion. When I heard that story, I just was just kind of ridiculous.
Surprised Bob Meanery. I'd be surprised if Bob Meanery hasn't gotten his hands on it and commentated on that. He's one of the guys who's kind of
absolutely do like a UFC style commentary of it and just be like, well, Bob, here we go. And it's just like, oh my God, he's going for the takedown. Something along that line. I mean, it would make sense to see something along those lines kind of happen. I mean, just a terrible look for Oklahoma University. I mean, and they've had some terrible looks before, but this is a pretty bad scene. I mean, his coaches are really gonna have to get in his ear and set him straight. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what the career of Spencer Jones looks like now at Oklahoma. Any final thoughts for that before we end up going into the officially into the NFL?
It's gonna be a tough time walking around school because not only you picked the fight, you lost the fight.
So
everyone looks around your way,
and everybody knows who he is. So they're all gonna be his. He's going to be known as that guy who got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they're all going to be.
I saw that video.
Yeah, they're all going to be coming for him now, dude. He can't step foot in class again, and I mean, with COVID restrictions, he may not have to, but
the hazing is going to be crazy.
That locker room, it's over for him.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, he's going to get so much crap the next time he steps in that locker room, man. His teammates are going to be on him, dude.
What year is he? Is he a freshman, sophomore?
I didn't.
He's a freshman. He's screwed.
Oh, dude, if he's a freshman. He's never living that thing down. I mean, unless he just turns into Julio Jones and just goes out there and balls out, dude. He's gonna have to turn himself into something else, dude. I mean,
that's what it'll take.
He's gonna have to be a stud to overcome that kind of controversy. You know, let's see if he can do it, man. But another kind of confrontation that wasn't as violent, thankfully, involved former Patriots quarterback and possibly what will still be the Patriots quarterback, Cam Newton. He was seen at a football camp heckling a young fan. It turns out that the young fan basically came at him first, was telling him that he was trash, told him he sucked, and was making fun of the guy for being a free agent. I mean, for a lot of people were thinking that the kid essentially was going to be, in a way, like there were going to be people like defending him, but immediately the internet kind of came purely to the side of Cam Newton, and we're just like what, and basically just said like, what you guys are doing, what this kid did is wrong. And it was a very one-sided thing. It was kind of weird to see the internet, unified over one thing in defense of something. I mean, what were you guys' thoughts when you saw this kid just picking on Cam?
Like that, I don't care what he's done to you. Like, he's taking time out of his day to come and teach the kids how to play football, and taking time out of his day to help each other out. That's the one thing you cannot do to Cam Newton. And regardless of how you feel about his career, he is a former MVP. He has been successful in the NFL. He's been to a few Bowls and has even made it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
he is no scrub.
No, not by any measure.
Talk to that man like that. If it was Jabba the Hutt, Jamarcus Russell, that's one thing. This is Superman. This is Jor-El. You can't talk to him like this.
No, you can't, man. Nah, I mean, when I saw that clip, I mean, listen, on this show, me and my buddies have had plenty of Cam Newton slander. And again, it has nothing to do with him as a guy. It's just been purely player kind of related. In the play that he was kind of giving out with the Patriots, obviously as a Pats fan, I was very disappointed with that play. But I mean, you got to respect the career of this dude, whether he's fallen off or not. I mean, you got to, at least as a young kid, you still got to know that he probably knows a thing or two as to how to get to the next level. So, I mean, the kid eventually did actually issue an apology. And I mean, he probably did learn his lesson, and it's just like, wow, the entire internet hates me. And, my shot of now making to the league is so much smaller than it probably was already. It's just a very dumb look for that kid. I mean, hopefully, I mean, maybe he can turn it around, but it's definitely going to be difficult. That's all I can say for the least.
And regardless, he's still in the NFL. Like, even if that player he was heckling was some scrub, he's only a scrub in the NFL.
Yeah.
On the college level, and most likely the college level, and absolutely on the high school level, he was an absolute beast, most likely.
Yeah.
So he knows more, regardless, about how to get to that level than this kid does. And especially since it was at his own camp, like, that's a dick move, man. I don't know.
Dude, it's like that common argument between like who, like when it was like really disrespectful, saying like, oh, who would win, the Cleveland Browns or the University of Alabama? And everyone is just like, Alabama. You know why? Because how many players on Alabama's team is in the NFL? Maybe about like 50 to 75% best will get into the NFL. How many NFL players are on the Browns? 100% of them are NFL caliber players. So, I mean, you do have to respect Cam. He's an NFL caliber player. Obviously, he had a rough season last year. He did come off a terrible shoulder injury. It was definitely, you could definitely tell last year he only threw 10 touchdowns the entire season. So, if he can ever get right and be back to that level, he's going to shut that kid up really quickly. That's all I can say. That kid is going to get shut up very quickly. Now, kind of going off the Cam Newton thing, I've kind of wondered whether there is kind of an advantage to the Patriots bringing him back. Now, I mean, he did have a very bad season last year for New England. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, frankly, with that team, it was going to be hard for any quarterback outside of Tom Brady, in my opinion, to really have a good year. But, seeing the internet kind of come to Cam's defense in this way, seeing athletes, I mean, Sports Center even put out a thing just being like, hey, put respect on Cam Newton's name and all this stuff. I'm kind of wondering, is there kind of an advantage to the Patriots bringing back Cam Newton as a way to kind of lure in other free agents? Because, he's still, whether the talent's there or not, he's still well liked enough around the league. And I mean, if you can have, and I mean, frankly, the kind of the reputation around Bill Belichick right now hasn't been too hot, unfortunately, because a lot of people have just been slamming him, saying like that he's kind of the no fun zone. And if you can kind of get Cam up there, I feel like you have a better shot of maybe kind of bringing some guys in and just being like, hey, we got Cam, like the guy around the league that everyone still likes. Is there kind of that? Do you guys kind of feel that advantage or not really?
So yeah, he's Bill Belichick, and this is especially regarding the players around the league. He's looked horrible in the past calendar year with the way he treated Brady on his way out, with the way a lot of players have talked about him. Amendola straight up saying, oh yeah, this was all Brady.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford coming out and saying, well, I'll go anywhere except New England.
Yeah, that was a really bad look.
So, this could be a good opportunity for Belichick to regain some ground and sort of like show this player, Cam Newton, who's showed all of the respect in the world to Bill Belichick, to the Patriots organization, said all the right things. For him to reward him like that, it might give him a little bit of an edge. So like that's actually not something I've looked at, but that's a good point you bring up, Ryan.
Yeah,
that could definitely give a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was on, I think Cam was on Brandon Marshall and Calvin Johnson and a couple of the guys. I'm sorry, I can't remember their names, but it's titled the I Am Athlete podcast. And, they bring a bunch of guys on. He was like their last guest on, and he was basically going in saying, and, he's like showing a lot of respect to Bill Belichick. And he was saying basically saying, I think Bill is one of the most misunderstood guys in the league. He thinks that he's actually a very cool dude, and just because of all the football knowledge he knows. And, maybe it's asking a lot at this point, but, just at least someone kind of not completely throwing Bill Belichick under a bus at this point kind of just feels a little nice. And I am kind of sympathetic in that sort of a sense, even though Cam really did have a very rough season for us. Now, if it's the Cam Newton football we're going to see, then I don't necessarily think that's going to be, then I'm not really going to be totally on board for bringing him back in. But if he can bounce back from that shoulder injury and kind of be somewhat of the Cam Newton of old, then yeah, I'd be interested in it. Just from right now looking at it, it's going to be difficult. But, obviously, if he can get back on it, having a guy who's actually, liking what Bill Belichick brings to the table, he thinks that he's actually a really cool dude. That's something that the Patriots really need at this point in time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And then now transitioning out of New England into kind of one of our rival cities, Philadelphia. If you can't tell, Philadelphia gets a lot of New England people riled up in a sense. After Super Bowl 52, at least, gotta say it. Oh yeah, Justin. I mean, you can't talk. You're a freaking Ravens fan, dude.
I'm a Ravens fan. I know what it is.
Dude, yeah, you don't care about 52.
I don't.
It's not even just the Eagles. It's mainly, I think it's Nick Foles.
You
for
want
me.
to a backup.
That guy made a deal with the devil.
No, he did not. No,
He tore apart a top-ranked Minnesota defense right before this game. He destroyed Bill Belichick's defense.
It's okay.
We're not gonna get into that. Just
it's okay.
Let's move on. Let's go.
All right. So in terms of the Eagles, it looks like they're in a full-on rebuild right now. It is ugly in Philly. So I mean, if Adam, if you do kind of want a bright spot about the Eagles right now after they kind of tortured us in the playoffs a couple years back, it is that they are completely blowing it up right now. Alshon Jeffrey's out the door. Deshaun Jackson's leaving. It looks like Zach Ertz is going to be traded. It is a full-on, rebuild in Philly right now. They have no idea what they're doing. I mean, Carson Wentz had to get shipped out the door to Indy. We'll be talking about a story with him in a little bit, but. According to Les Brown and Albert Breer, the Eagles are strongly considering taking a quarterback with the 6th pick in the draft after taking Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round just last year. Now, I mean, I don't like to say that. I don't like to say that NFL teams here are jumping the shark, but the Philadelphia Eagles are jumping the shark. Like, I mean, you got to give Jalen Hurts a little more time than this. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's upsetting that he has to go through this after what he had to go through with Carson Wentz and what he had to go through in week 17. It's just offensive what he has to go through right now. Yeah. I see no other quarterback that has to deal with the circumstances that Jalen Hurts has to deal with. From Carson Wentz being starting over him and playing awful, for him to be thrown in there at mid-season and having to perform just to keep his job. Yeah. It's a very unfortunate situation to be in. And then week 17, not only to start and try to win the game, but to get pulled in the 4th quarter for Nate Sudfeld because Nate Sudfeld needs reps. Are you kidding me? No wonder you got fired, Doug Peterson. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And if they draft a quarterback,
the dude's a clown.
The way I've seen it this offseason with the Eagles, especially after releasing Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson, which you can actually make half a case that might actually make sense to go younger and sort of try to rebuild on the offense. And I really think if you have the 6th pick and you have the opportunity to draft Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, you take that opportunity because that's arguably their biggest need. Yeah. And if they take a quarterback when you have Jalen Hurts, who you haven't given enough time,
it's literally Kyler Murray and Josh Rosen.
Just asking for trouble.
Yeah,
dude, it's literally Kyler Murray and Josh Rosen all over again. Now, I mean, the Kyler Murray pick for the Cardinals worked out great because I think Rosen kind of just fell into their lap in a little bit, and they were like, "Well, we should probably take this guy." Now, I mean, I think that Jalen Hurts definitely has performed better than a guy like Rosen did in his time in Arizona. And I think that, he's definitely got to get some more reps. He deserves that. I mean, he had good enough moments last year that I think he deserves to, at least have a shot as the starting guy. Now, I mean, is his play style, the most, standard kind of play style we've seen? No, but, he has shown flashes at time, and he was a rookie last year. Now, I mean, he had just transferred to Oklahoma. So he was fresh out of a new school, came to the NFL, and I think that you got to give the guy another shot. I mean, he's played well enough, so I think you got to give him a shot. I mean, surround him with quality weapons and see what you can build. I mean, you have him under contract for like the next 3 years. So I mean, I don't see why you're not doing it.
Right. And if it doesn't work out, then you can just move on. And now the next guy has quality weapons as well. Yeah. I think anybody can do well with, I really believe in Jamar Chase. I think anybody can do well with a top receiver like that. And then you hold on to Dallas Goedert and maybe rebuild that defensive line. Offensive line.
Yeah.
And if it turns out Jalen Hurts can't play, okay, just move on to the next guy.
Yeah.
There's no logic in just moving on from Jalen Hurts when you barely even given him a shot.
I mean, Johnny Manziel got 2 seasons, so if he can get 2 seasons, then freaking Jalen Hurts needs to get at least that, man. That's all I'm saying. So I mean, that's kind of where I stand with that. Transitioning to kind of Carson Wentz in a way, we were hinting at it when we were saying that about Jalen Hurts in a sense, but Carson Wentz, now the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, he's gonna have some interesting weapons over there. But a storyline that has kind of started to develop now is that Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. is refusing to give up his number 11 to Carson, even though like basically he's going to be the one that will be responsible for his success over the next couple of years. You'd think that you'd think that, Pittman would kind of just be like, hey man, I'm happy you're here. Really, really glad to see it. Let me give you my number and let's make things happen. Kind of putting a good word in a sense, but he's just like, no, I'm sticking true. I'm holding on to number 11. And right now it doesn't seem like he's giving it up. What are you guys' thoughts right now on this?
Is he asking for the ball? I mean, what are you doing?
I mean,
what are you doing?
I mean, if you want to look at his stats last year, he had 40 receptions, 503 yards, and only 1 touchdown. So, I mean, if that's all you want to be putting up a season, then by all means do this.
Keep doing this.
Yeah, keep doing this, man. But I mean, if you want to, get involved more in the offense, then I think you gotta, have a little more kind of empathy towards your quarterback, and maybe throw up that pick, and maybe throw up, give him that number.
Yeah.
I mean, with the possibility of T.Y. Hilton being out the door, there's a real possibility that Michael Pittman winds up being their number 1 target.
Yeah.
So if this is the start of their of the Wentz Pittman rapport,
Yeah.
then rapport.
Yeah.
Then
there you go, Adam.
Not
that's
a good
the word.
It's off to a dodgy start already.
Dude.
If he's supposed to be the future, the number 1 receiver, and you're already talking to your franchise quarterback like that, who's inked in for another 4 years, and you're already starting off like, I'm not giving up my number even if he has. No, you can't do that. You're supposed to start building a rapport. If you ask for it, you be the gentleman and be like, sure, it's just a number.
Yeah. I mean,
and if Carson Wentz doesn't want it, then yeah, you can keep it. But
I mean,
at least
yeah, I mean, from what I saw, he didn't even wear that number in college, so it's not even like it has like that much significance to him. Like I think he wore number 6 in college. So I'm just like, dude, it's your rookie number. Do you know how many guys have had to change their number? Randy Moss had to change from 84 to 81. Like guys have had to change their numbers. So I mean, it just happens, and I'm just like, dude, I saw that story and I'm kind of wondering if it kind of like highlights kind of a broader like kind of a dislike that that kind of like players have for a guy like Carson Wentz. I mean, he's gotten a really bad break. Kind of. I mean, in 2017, I've said it many times on the show. MVP level candidate. Obviously suffered a bad ACL injury. Really hasn't kind of been the same guy since. And I feel like a lot of guys in the league probably at this point just don't look at Carson Wentz as a quality quarterback like that. And I feel like they're just showing. I feel like this is just some of the disrespect that they show in that sense.
Yeah.
See, he has a lot to prove. And
oh yeah.
We'll say this: if he's going to go anywhere and revive his career and rebuild his reputation, then it's Indianapolis. And you just look at everywhere on that. You look at everywhere on that roster, and it all makes sense for Carson Wentz to be there.
Absolutely.
With that roster under Phillip Rivers, who was on the downside of his career, they were able to go 11-5 and make it into the playoffs, put up a competitive game against the Bills. And then you have an elite offensive line, you have a competent defense, you have good pass catchers, you have Frank Reich, who was the quarterback coach for the Eagles during that 2017 campaign. So it's all set up for Carson Wentz. It's just on him to be able to put up the results.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally on him now. And, I mean, he was in a pretty toxic situation in Philly those last couple of years. So, he's in a great situation now with the Colts. If Frank Reich can get him right, then watch out for Carson Wentz, man. He could honestly win comeback player of the year. I mean, I know he's not coming off an injury in a sense, but he could really win comeback player of the year. And just by showing like the guy that he used to be.
If he just plays like 2019 Carson Wentz, because I think Carson Wentz in 2019 was under the circumstances he was playing under, he was very good.
Yeah, I'll give you credit.
I don't think people gave him a lot of credit for it. So if he can just be 2019 with the weapons he has around him, they could be a Super Bowl contender, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
If you look at it, every year besides this past year, hasn't been that bad. So you easily look at it and say, he had a really tough year that kind of put a bad taste in all our mouths. He could probably, if everything goes right, he could probably turn that around for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember, how old is Wentz now? Is he close to 30? I'm not too sure. I have to look it up. Yeah.
He's 7?
Something probably around that line. I'd have to look it up. But if he's close to that, I feel like he's got a shot, man. I think that he's in the perfect situation. it's a much better situation than I think New England would have been able to provide for him. So if he can thrive in Indy, then I think that he has a good shot.
Mm-hmm. Best of luck to him.
Mm-hmm. So let's see if Carson can do it. If the Colts all of a sudden are in the AFC Championship game, don't say we didn't tell you. But watch out for the Colts. You guys were also saying, Adam, you were saying something along the lines of Juju Smith-Schuster and the Pittsburgh Steelers before we started this thing. Was there anything you wanted to chime in with that on?
Yeah, it looks like the Steelers want to bring back their old roster from last year.
Okay. Okay. I'm happy for them.
I mean, I like Carson Wentz. Or sorry, not Carson Wentz. We're moved on.
Juju.
I like Juju as a player on the field. I like Ben Roethlisberger to an extent on the field.
Yeah, off the field, we got some issues with Ben Roethlisberger, but we'll leave that for another day.
But they need to take a look at that team and look at what they need to do to improve it, because they have been a competitive team when they're all together and healthy, but they haven't been able to put together a good enough season and play up to their potential probably since their last Super Bowl appearance, to be honest. Really looking back.
Mm-hmm.
So they might need to take a step back and look at themselves in the mirror rather than just saying, well, we were competitive, let's just bring the game back together. Let's let Juju Smith-Schuster dance on every logo he plays in. Let's let Roethlisberger not give a damn about like anything.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just bring them all back. We're gonna win. We're gonna go 12-4. We're gonna dance. We're gonna make TikToks, and we're gonna go out in the first round. Let's do that.
I mean, that's how it went last year. So I mean, if you want, I mean, I guess the only thing they could really hold on to at that point is basically, well, we started 11-0, and then everything kind of just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
So
round exit next year if they do all this again.
Got more TikToks
than
Smith-Schuster has.
Yeah.
So you guys think Ben Roethlisberger probably coming back is just not a good look at this point? I mean, you think that he should probably just be out the door by now?
Better than a lot of other options, but
true, I'll give you that.
Isn't very good right now.
But they might want to try and move on.
Right now, looking if they do try to move on, it looks like the guy who's next up is Dwayne Haskins. So I don't know if.
Oh, we want that. Oh, the Ravens want that.
Oh, I know. I could tell that Ravens fans would want Dwayne Haskins to be the next quarterback of the Steelers.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you want to end that. You want to end that rivalry? Then there you go.
Yeah, just make him a starter, and the rest is history.
He'll just be at some Pittsburgh strip club. He'll show up to a game, and Lamar Jackson will just have 300 rushing yards on you. So that'll just be your day.
We'll spread COVID to half the team.
Hopefully by the time if Dwayne Haskins is the starter of the Steelers, we don't have to be worrying about COVID. But
really hope so too.
Mm-hmm. But it's COVID wise, it's pretty bad. I mean, right here at school, we have some pretty crazy spread. I mean, the last time we were doing a show, I'm actually still in a quarantine right now as a close contact. So, you guys actually already had your COVID experience.
Oh, that's horrible. This guy here.
Yeah, Justin, he gave you COVID, right?
Yeah, he gave. I was in close contact, and he gave it to me, and I had to go from like one quarantine area to an isolation area. I was like, oh my God. I was away for like 2 weeks, and it was horrible.
Yeah, dude, that's another story. My dad came back from a trip. He said he had some minor symptoms. He said, yeah, well, like I just got like the first shot of the vaccine, so that must be like post effects for like the COVID vaccine.
He was the imposter.
Like, he just reassured us that, and he didn't even tell me that until after I moved in, and then I started developing a cough, and they figured out I had a cough, so they sent me home. And then we later on that week, my entire family tested positive. And next thing you know, a week later, all my friends are positive. So I'm like, geez, Dad.
Now we know that. Adam, now we know that we can just go to your house with no problem at this point, as the Wright residence has completely just taken on COVID at this point.
Herd immunity, baby.
Herd immunity within the Wright household. So that's good to hear. But in terms of the NFL, was there anything that you guys particularly wanted to talk about before before we go on? I mean, I know you guys are kind of a football podcast. Was there anything that particularly that we didn't cover here that you guys wanted to, that you guys had talked about previously?
Loki, I do want to talk about the Devontae Smith quote that happened.
All right, what happened? What happened with Devontae then?
Devontae Smith got asked a question about whether he wanted to play. If he was asked who did he rather want as a quarterback, and between Mac Jones and Tua, and he without hesitation chose Mac Jones. Now that quote got out, and now everybody's now wondering about Tua, and now having questions about Mac Jones. Is he could be a potential number 1 overall pick or a top 5 pick?
Yeah, I mean, if Mac Jones, if Mac Jones slips out of the top 10, then I mean, that'd be kind of crazy. I mean, but that's a little kind of a little tidbit in there, especially since the Dolphins have that Texans pick and are picking early. That may kind of take them away, and if Jamar Chase is there instead, maybe they go with him. So that could actually be a pretty interesting draft story to watch going into the draft. Adam, what were your kind of thoughts when you heard about that story kind of going down?
I do agree. I do think he was put in a tough position. Like, what do you expect him to say? Because he was he's literally played for both quarterbacks, being in Alabama, and he could potentially play for another, for one of them again next on the Dolphins.
I mean, at the same time, though, there is kind of a way that you can like half answer a question like that, and you can kind of just BS in a way and just be like, well, they bring different things to the table, and just throw like that kind of a quote out there. Because I mean, unless he was asked that right after the national championship game, where at that point it's like, you know what, man, you just had the adrenaline of winning the whole thing. You're going to think whoever threw you the ball was the greatest guy ever. So,
but he can't even do that because Tua won a national championship with him. So he can't even say that.
True.
There's ways you can say, like, I agree. It's still a tough position to be put in, because like either way, like both players are going to be looking at him like,
are you serious?
Are you
Especially
serious?
Tua right now.
I mean,
you might want to just, the best answer you could probably give is just like, well, I was happy to play with both, and I'm excited for whatever comes next. Whatever comes next, rather than saying, well, Mac Jones.
Yes, pretty much.
Now Tua's going to come over to him at Dolphins training camp and be like, so
what the hell, man?
Dude, buddy, we were what the hell? Yeah.
Oh, you were my friend. What the heck? Yeah, no, exactly. That actually is kind of a pretty interesting situation there. That could have some connotations. I mean, I kind of do wonder. I mean, I don't know how much of a factor it is. I mean, obviously, Tua is a lefty, Jones is a righty. Is the way that the ball comes in a way, does that really have an effect on a wide receiver in a sense? I'm not too sure about if it does. I mean, I've heard from some NFL like kind of guys that it does kind of affect a wide receiver a little differently. But at the same time, I mean, being a pro caliber wide receiver, you should be able to be, good for anything. But if it is kind of the sense of just saying like, hey, I'm used to catching righties solely, then I guess you could make that case.
The problem is that most NFL wide receivers are used to getting passes from the right-handed quarterback, so they're used to catching it from righties. So it's kind of hard to make the adjustment to completely like reverse how they know how to catch the ball in certain ways for the quarterback, because now they have to line up in a different way or run it a certain way or do it differently than what they're accustomed to doing. Jerry Rice once said that he had a tougher time adjusting to Steve Young than he did Joe Montana. He ended up having more touchdown passes than with Steve Young, but than Joe Montana. But it's still an adjustment you have to make, and you have to work at it consistently.
Yeah. So I guess for Jones's sake, then you can make that kind of an argument, I guess.
How many years did he play with Joe Montana versus Steve Young? Because that could have played a factor.
I
think he won all. I think he won all 5 or so with the Niners. So I think he was there for all of them.
No, not all of them. He missed.
Not all of them? Okay.
I think he missed 81 and 84.
Okay. Yeah.
He won one he's won 3. I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah.
He could be aware of 3.
Makes sense. All right. So that kind of covers a lot of the things that we had going on NFL wise. I'm going to kind of take you guys, I think, a little bit out of your comfort zone with this one a little bit. I mean, Adam, you kind of know a little bit of stuff with MLB wise. Justin, I don't know about you too much. I mean, all right, man. So one of the stories I did want to talk about, though, it's not really too much, it's kind of on the diamond related, more kind of just kind of kind of a social aspect of it. MLB legend Albert Pujols, apparently his wife on Instagram had basically announced that he was going to be retiring at the conclusion of the season, and a ton of people were pouring in their respects, saying thank you, Albert, for everything that you've done. Frankly, one of the greatest right-handed hitters that we've ever seen in our lifetime, and possibly throughout all of baseball history. The guy is a legend. I mean, if you look at his numbers in St. Louis and even part of his time with the Angels, they are incredible. So, I mean, all the respect goes out to Albert Pujols. But very soon after saying like this would be his final season, she basically came out and just completely retracted the statement. I kind of took the quote from her Instagram, and she said, "This is not an official statement of Pujols' retirement. I'm just trying to send my husband with blessings into the 2021 season. Today's the first day of his last season based on his contract, and apparently he's still trying to go for 700 home runs." That's kind of a shady cover up. I think that. Yeah.
There's no way, like, that's just such an awkward cover up to try and say, well, that was technically like just trying to twist it around. Like, I think she said something without her husband's consent, and kind of they had a talk, and she kind of like went back on that. That's probably what happened.
I guess on the post though, Pujols did leave like 3 heart emojis afterwards, which a lot of people thought was going to be confirming it. And I'm wondering if he kind of like, if he knew his wife was going to be putting something out, he put the heart emojis and then just went, "Wait, honey, what did you post? You said I'm retiring? Oh boy." And then I feel like there was just like some crazy retraction and there's probably like a little bit of back and forth in the household of just being like, "Hey, I didn't want to say I'm done yet."
It could have also been, it could have been literally anything. Like maybe even Albert Pujols himself retracted and kind of changed his mind. And we don't know. Either way, I mean, that is a little shady.
Yeah, it was definitely weird to see. Apparently, his wife also said that he is still trying to chase 700 home runs. I checked; he's about 38 away now. I mean, his power. He did have like 40 home runs like a couple years back now. But his power numbers, really at this point, power is the only thing that he's going for at this point. His average has dropped off significantly from his years as a Cardinal. So, I mean, if he is going to go for the home runs, I think he's definitely going to need more than one season for it. So, I mean, do you think Pujols is done after this kind of a thing? Or do you think that this kind of retraction makes it look like he will be back in a sense? I mean, because I feel like if there's anyone who's going to know about his future career, there's no one better than his wife who's going to know. So, I mean, do you guys think that she actually leaked the official announcement, or do you think that there was kind of a mix up?
I mean, Albert Pujols and his wife.
He's going to be 41. He's going to be 41 too. So just be aware of that.
He is a baseball player. They tend to last a lot longer. Mm-hmm. But in regards to his retirement, only those two know. And considering they kind of retracted, I wouldn't rule out playing beyond next season. Yeah. And but whether or not, like, what we think, whether or not he's going to retire, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule it. It depends. I guess it would probably depend on how he plays next season. If he gets close to 700 after this season, like really close, like within striking distance, he could very well come back. So, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. I mean, Alex Rodriguez, I think he retired back in 2017. I mean, obviously, he has the PED kind of scandals and stuff like that behind him, but a lot of people thought he was going to go for 700 home runs. And, the Yankees basically were telling him, "Hey, we're going to be cutting you at the end of this year. So if you're going for 700, and apparently a lot of people thought that he was going to go down to the Marlins with Jeter and basically just go for it down there. But, that just didn't end up happening. And a lot of people are just like, and, I think he was only like 3 home runs away or something like that. So he was well within the possibility of getting it. Pujols, it's definitely a bigger stretch, but the guy has a lot more power, I think, left in him at this point in time. So, he's going to have to put together some very quality, like at least 2 more quality seasons power-wise. So it's going to be a challenge. I think that it can be possible, but it's going to take a lot.
It'll probably take more than one season. I don't see him.
I agree.
38 home runs in his age 41 season. It's going to probably take 2 or 3 seasons.
I mean, unless he stops. Unless he starts popping the steroids now. I mean, unless he starts popping steroids now and just says, screw it, I'm going for it, I'm going to just Barry Bonds this thing, then it's going to be a little difficult for him to get up to that real quick. But
I mean, if he pops steroids, he breaks the home run record, and then he gets caught for it, baseball is going to be in a lot.
I mean, they're in a dark place already, so that would put them definitely back. That would just set them back so far.
That put them in their graves. I'm telling you, baseball is such a dying sport. I love the game.
I do too.
But if that happened, well, that's off. This is off topic from what we were talking about. But if that were to happen, holy crap!
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. I mean, I don't think Pujols is going to do that. He's too good of a guy. I really hope he doesn't. So, frankly, Albert, stay clean. That's all I can say.
To be fair, we thought the same thing about Barry Bonds. Let's just.
Did we? Did you see how big his forehead freaking got? He got.
I'm just saying he looked like he seemed like a great guy when he was.
He still is a great guy. He just did steroids. That's all.
Exactly.
That's it. And then before we end up, going into before we end up leaving sports in a sense, I did want to talk about something. I was going to talk about this with Carter. I'll just get my 2 cents on it. I don't know if you guys watch UFC in that sort of a sense. Do you guys watch UFC? Did you see UFC Vegas 19 or no?
No.
All right. So I don't know if you caught the clip at all, but Derek Lewis fought Curtis Blades, and basically Derek Lewis, who's 36 at this point, a lot of people thought Blades was going to win it because he's the number 2 ranked fighter in the heavyweight division. A lot of people had Blades kind of as a favorite going in, but Derek Lewis just hit him with a nasty uppercut and just took him out. So I did want to get into that. Now, I did have some streaming troubles with that. I mean, now based on the fact that we sometimes maybe don't use UFC Fight Pass to stream our fights, I'll just say that. But we did have some streaming troubles. But yeah, Justin, I think you know where I'm coming from. Yeah. But we had.
I understand.
I think you do. So we had some streaming troubles on our end, and we kind of did miss the big knockout. But then when they showed it on replay, it was just absolutely brutal. On this show, we've been trying to get a little more into UFC with all the terminology and stuff, and it's been really fun to talk about. Frankly, I mean, it's when you kind of know what's going on, it's really cool to see. So I did want to do a quick little touch up on that. But finally, before we do go down to the wire tonight and go over everything that we talked about, a huge moment in pop culture happened. I was mentioning it to you guys before we started the show. Rapper Bobby Shmurda has officially been released from prison.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He's officially out after 7 years. After 7 years, dude, he's officially back. Quavo picked him up in a private jet. So
yes, he did.
Dude, the New York Knicks put a giant banner on Madison Square Garden saying, "Welcome home, Bobby, the king of New York." Yep. Now, I mean, the amount of support that a guy who was accused of conspiracy to murder has gotten, I mean, it's pretty cool to see. Now, a little odd, but I mean, all the love goes out to Bobby. I mean, all I can tell you is that the first track he drops is going to be on the top 10 of whatever list at this point. Now, what were your guys' thoughts when you guys saw the notification that Bobby was getting out?
It's about time. It's about time. He's been in there for far too long. I'm happy for him. He did the time he was eligible to serve. He did his time, and I'm happy he's out.
He didn't snitch. Dude, he's missed so much. I was saying it to one of my friends. I was like, he's been in jail. I was like, he was in jail
for
before
so long.
Dude, he was in jail before like water bottle flipping became like a trend.
Yeah.
You want to know how? Like, yeah, you want to think about that? Remember that kind of stuff? He's been in jail longer than that. Longer than like Adam. Before we were in high school, he was in jail.
He barely even know. He barely even knows about TikTok at this point.
Yeah,
dude, barely, dude.
He doesn't know Vine died.
Dude, literally. I mean, he's
TikTok replaced it.
Dude, it's still lit.
Still in Cleveland.
The dude got onto Quavo's jet and he's just like, "Yo, why is everyone wearing masks? What the hell's going on here? What did I miss?" And they're just like, "Oh man, this is just within the last year. You should see what happened within the last 7."
It's just amazing.
Absolute craziness. But apparently, all I can tell you is that every music label is going to want to sign this guy. Everyone's going to want to do a collab with him because he didn't snitch. That's the difference between a guy like that and 6ix9ine. He didn't snitch.
Yep. No one wants to touch 6ix9ine, but everybody wants a piece of Bobby Shmurda.
Absolutely. And I mean, whether you want to say he's a lyrical genius or not, you got to commend the guy, I guess, in a sense. But I think it is officially time to announce it. We are now officially down to the wire, which means we're going to go through everything we talked about in this podcast episode within, in a quick kind of segment. We started things off with the show talking about Tiger Woods, obviously involved in a very serious car accident, T's and P's up to Tiger Woods. We hope that, he can get back. He suffered a very bad leg injury, but from what we're hearing right now, it does look like that he is awake, alert, and kind of recovering at this point. So awesome news there. In football news, in the NCAA, we saw wide receiver Spencer Jones get absolutely knocked the heck out by just some random person who he didn't realize was trained in mixed martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Jones nearly lost his right eye. His left eye. My apologies. Nearly lost his left eye. Had to undergo a 4-hour surgery to basically save it. In NFL news, Cam Newton was heckled by a young fan at a football camp, and was basically, the entire internet came to his side. We talked about whether bringing Cam back to the Patriots would have any potential value. Going into this year. We talked about the Eagles basically completely tearing it down, possibly drafting a quarterback with the 6th pick in the draft. We talked about Michael Pittman Jr. refusing to give up number 11 to new quarterback Carson Wentz, even though Pittman really didn't have the most impressive rookie season in the NFL. We talked about Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers situation, as well as a quote from Devontae Smith saying that he prefers Mac Jones over Tua Tagovailoa. In MLB news, we talked about Albert Pujols' wife retracting statements about the player's retirement. She said that this is not an official statement about his retirement, but is just trying to send him into the season with good luck. We're a little skeptical on that situation here, but and then we also talked about in UFC news. We talked about Derek Lewis knocking out Curtis Blades with a vicious uppercut in UFC Vegas 19. Very excited for the next UFC Vegas, or just UFC. And just in general. And we finish things off in pop culture talking about rap. Now, I think it's fair to say rap icon Bobby Shmurda getting out of prison. So that's kind of all I think we have tonight. Adam, Justin, thank you guys so much for coming on the show tonight. I know it was very impromptu, but I really do appreciate it. If you guys, do you guys want to plug yourselves with anything at this point in time?
Check out the Fumblerooski Podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are on Spotify as well as us now. I'm glad to see it. I think, Adam, you kind of gave me the kick in the ass I need. So you can now follow us both on Spotify if you need to, if you're looking for it. The links are in our bios. But thank you guys so much again for coming on. I hope I can reciprocate this and come on your guys' show sometime and maybe talk some NFL. But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa. You guys want to take it?
I'm Adam Wright.
I'm Justin Soccer.
And thank you guys so much. Again, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. Have a good